Well, on the bench today we have a 25-inch Hantarex Polo. It's an all-original chassis married to the tube, original parts and everything that's been on this tube but never got separated, all that jazz. The correct original tube, the 10X05 with the right yoke, and I mean everything on this is all original, but the chassis has been rebuilt with a new flyback and caps and all that jazz. And I picked this up a couple of months ago from somebody who just wanted to get rid of it and put an LCD in their machine. I said, okay, I'll gladly take it. And the reason they got rid of it was because they were trying to do the rebuild and the reflow and everything that they've done to fix the horrible, terrible horizontal linearity problems that this has. So today we're going to try and figure this out. Now, I did mess with this when I first got it and couldn't get it figured out, so I put it away and figured I'd come back to it later. But if we look at the actual image here, it does operate and run, as you can see, but there is a little bit of a gap here, which is normal. But if we go over here, there's a lot bigger gap over here. I mean, you can't even see the raster. There's no raster. Right here's the edge of the raster. There's still, you know, 1.5 inches of tube here. There's 1.5 inches of black space, but the raster ends right there. So now if we start a game, we'll give it credits and start a game. Good old Kano, yeah, skip through here. Now you'll see that the clock is dead center with the middle of the tube. Right here it's centered. But we have, you know, 1.5 inches of black area, and then right there is the end of the raster when it should be over there. Now if we take the horizontal phase, which is the horizontal position, and shift it over, you can see that it just folds over on itself here. Just completely folds over. Now I can shift this over to where the gap is about the same, but you'll see that there's raster over here, but not over here. Now if I do that, I can actually, let's continue here. I can, there we go, I can move this peg over here to, oh no, I just leave it there. H amp is the horizontal size. Now I can actually make this full screen. So right there it's full screen. But you can see that it's shifted way over. This should be over here. So I can actually shift the image over and increase the width, and I have a full square picture, but it's folded over on itself and it's way off center. This is shrunk and this is expanded. So you can see I just had the brightness turned up for display purposes. I mean, normally it sits about right there. But yeah, and now you can really see how much this is folded over on itself. So I can, and how far this is shifted over. So I can make it a full image, but it's got horrible linearity problems. Now normally what you would do is there is a linearity coil. This is the horizontal linearity coil. And right inside of there is just a round piece of graphite, so to speak. And what you could do is you'd use a plastic tool. You would ideally use a plastic tool, but I don't have a plastic tool that'll fit in there. It's a square hole. So I just use this jeweler's flathead and I turn this. Now normally you could turn this and it would affect the linearity, and it does to a point. No, is that what I was using? No, hold on. I got to get a different tool. I forgot. Hang on one second. Okay, so I figured I'd just put you on the tripod here. It's going to be the easiest way to demonstrate this while I'm adjusting it. So I got this little, it's not a jeweler's flathead, but it's a smaller flathead. So we're going to use this to turn that horizontal linearity coil. Now we put this in here, just turn that, I don't know, that round part here. And as I turn it, oh, come on, let's get to an actual, hang on, amateur channel at its best. All right, so now let's go to monitor patterns, crosshatch. Okay, yeah. Okay, so if we put the H phase back where it's supposed to be, so right there is where it's supposed to be. You can see the center of here. Oh, maybe you can't. Let's just zoom out a bit. Okay, the center of our block here is center with our middle mounting hole. Right here the image is where it's supposed to be, but the linearity is off. If I move the phase over to the right, and so, you know, there's our full picture. So now if I adjust that, and you'll see here that it does affect the linearity, but it does not fix the problem. So I can turn this to my heart's content here. So what that is just a round piece of graphite that you can turn 360, but depending on where you have it in the revolution, it changes the image. So I can actually affect it's affecting the size, but it's not affecting the linearity. So that doesn't really help me in this situation. If I do the phase here again, so I can, if I move the position to the left, it changes the linearity. If I move it to the right, it folds over again on itself. So if I put this back where it's supposed to be, right there is where it's supposed to be, per the middle. I'm not really any better off than I was. So if I go and adjust this again, you can see that I'm still shifted to the left. My left side is off the screen and the right side is too far to the left. So now if I shift this over to where I have the full screen, it folds over on itself again. So I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now there is this other coil here that is adjustable, but again, it doesn't really do much. If I adjust this coil right here, all this does is just kind of increase and decrease the horizontal size, like very minuscule. It'll just go it doesn't actually affect the linearity. So nothing that I do affects the linearity. Now this right here, if I adjust this right here, that should affect the linearity to a point to where I could resolve this, but it's not giving me enough range, or there's still something else that's wrong. And I changed out every one of these capacitors. I verified everything in this section was good. I changed out this capacitor and that capacitor and that capacitor and that capacitor and that capacitor. I verified the diodes were good. I verified the resistors were all good with intolerance. I changed out the cap here by the other coil here. I did everything you could think of and verified all of the caps that were replaced are the right rating, right voltages. I've done everything you could think of other than maybe put an original flatback back in, and nothing that I've done has been able to fix this problem. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to change out this transformer. This is basically a horizontal drive transformer. I am suspecting that this might be bad or causing our linearity problem. So I'm going to leave this exactly as it is as far as settings and everything the way that we see it. And then I'm going to change out this coil and come right back and we'll turn it on and see if this is any different. Alright, so I have successfully replaced that transformer. I believe it's TH102. This guy right there. Here is the original one. I've got a replacement in there from a donor chassis. So let's turn it back on and see if our situation has at all improved. I'm hopeful, but not expecting much. Alright, so here we go. Okay, it comes on. Got my control here at the ready. No, this is still squished over here. Oh, and we're still shifted over this way. Let's diagnostic test, monitor patterns, crosshatch. Nope, it's still the same. Well, that's about the limit of my knowledge on this. Let's move this back over to where it should be. Yeah, it's exactly as how it was before. If anything, it's maybe a little better, but no. So right there is where it should be. Let's try adjusting that linearity coil again. So it is adjusting the linearity slightly. It has more effect on this side than it does on this side when I turn it. But there's really right. See, it just goes in and then in. Right there is where that's the limit of its effectivity. Now it may not look too bad like this, but it's shifted way over. Now if I try and shift it back to the right, you know, you may, and then I adjust the horizontal size. I mean, you may have to just, Look how far over this is to where, from where it should be. Yeah, this right here is where it should be, and it's over here. So I don't know if there's any way I could just find some way to live with it like this, but I don't want to live with it like that. I want to find the problem. Right there is where it should stay. Oh, that's hold, sorry. Phase is, okay, that's the amp, H amp. I mean, so right there, we are centered. We're good on the left, but over here we got that, I don't know what to do now. So I guess, I mean, it's possible. I've already gone through and verified all the caps have the correct location, rating, and size and all that. So it's not a problem of an incorrect capacitor when the cap kit was done. I've changed all the caps in the horizontal section there. I've now changed the TH102. TH102. It's not, I can't adjust the linearity coil any more than it already is. I could probably change the linearity coil out. Maybe I can try, I can remove this linearity coil right here and try and put it on. Maybe it's the coil. It's quite possible the coil could be faulty. I don't have another one of these to change out. The one that has the ferrite, like a normal width coil. But that's not the linearity coil. That's like a secondary adjustment for your horizontal size. So the main coil there is what I was referring to earlier, and I've verified it's not a capacitor or a resistor problem. That all checks okay. So I guess now I'll change out that linearity coil itself and see what that does. Alright, so using the donor chassis as a parts source, I have successfully installed a replacement horizontal linearity coil. This one you can see has a bunch of greenish glue all over it. And this one here is our original one. So with the original one out and replacement in, kind of a last ditch effort here. I can't imagine anything else it would be. Let's see if that made any improvement or difference in our situation here. If not, I'm going to have to go a little bit deeper into this and try and see if there's anything else that I admittedly haven't done any research on this, so we'll have to find out and see. So let's turn the video on. Okay, at least it comes back on. It's always in the back of my mind. I'm always a little worried whenever I do work and turn them back on and something's not going to work. Well, we're definitely not as wide, but I think we may have an improvement here. Over here on the side, it's not folded over on itself anymore, and the edge of the raster is still away from the edge, but that's because the width isn't the same. If we look over here, we've got kind of the same thing going on over here on this side. So we do have an improvement, but is it enough of an improvement to call it fixed? I don't know. Let's find out here. Okay. Diagnostic tests, monitor patterns, crosshatch. It's still squished slightly, ever so slightly, but yeah. The width is different, of course, because the coil that you turn is in different location in the turn on this replacement versus the one I took out. So if we adjust that one, can we take care of that? I wonder. Not really. Now this one is adjusting this side of the image. Why is that different? But if we do that, it's not perfect, but now this side matches that side. So now the one on the left and the one on the right are kind of ever so slightly squished, but it's equal on the left and the right. And hey, we're still centered. Look at the center. We're dead center in the screen, and look, I think we fixed it. H amp, H phase. Yes! I think that was it. Look at that. Fantastic. It's not perfect, but I will take that over the other result any day. Holy cow. Yes. Bad linearity coil. Now, how in the world this would affect it like that, I have no idea, but it's just a coil of wire wrapped around a core. Why that would, how this could be bad, I don't know. It warrants further investigation, but changing it out has fixed our problem. Interesting, to say the least. Well, nothing now but to make some adjustments here. Let's turn our brightness down right there. Contrast right about there. And let's escape out of here back to the game and see how this looks. Oh my word. How does it look in game now? Fantastic. H phase is our position. Well, would you look at that? Unbelievable. This monitor has a little bit of convergence problems in the top corners, and with this being a bonded yoke, there's not much I can do, and we're a little bit too red. Can I adjust the red ever so slightly? That's better. Oh yeah, look how centered we are now. Fantastic. Man, I gotta tell you, I never would have imagined that the actual coil itself would be the culprit, but it doesn't make sense. It's just a coil of wire wrapped around a ferrite core, but maybe the wire has lost its inductance. I don't know. It'd be a good experimentation to measure the inductance of this versus the one I replaced, but I don't have that ability at the moment. Maybe I'll come back to this in the future and do some experimentation, but look at that. Bad horizontal linearity coil. Fantastic. All right, so we have another monitor repaired. So thank you very much. Hopefully you learned something. I know I did. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. I have a U5000 in this box right here that was sent up from a friend down in Houston. Going to try and get that fixed up. But man, fantastic. I can add this back to the collection now of spare monitors for the arcade and go about the next repair. So thanks again. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.